Hello, I am SquidofLove, welcome back. The 2.6.1 update has brought some interesting changes to the SEM speeds of the ships in Star Citizen. These speeds had to be readjusted in order to provide better balance and offer a better experience. As a direct result, some of the stats of the weapons in Star Citizen had to also be readjusted in order to match these new SEM speeds and again help providing better balance and experience. To be more precise, the damage, rate of fire and DPS of all the weapons has remained the same, which means that the guides that we have created, the weapon guides that we have created for the 2.6 update are still relevant and they are working. And you can find the link for these guides for all the weapons in the different size categories in the description. What has really changed is the projectile speed and the range of the weapons. And although range is not that important right now in the game, the projectile speed is because it is the stat that we care the most about when we are trying to create an effective loadout. So today we are going to take a quick look at the new projectile speeds and ranges of all the weapons that are readable right now in Star Citizen, but I will also show you some interesting combinations that you can make with different size weapons based on the stats we have right now in the 2.6.1 update. Starting with the size 1 category, the Omniski 3 has a projectile velocity at 1794 meters per second and 1650 meters. The M3A laser cannon is at 1958 meters per second and 1821 meters. The NN13 neutron cannon is at 1600 meters per second and 1440 meters. The CF007 Bulldog repeater is at 1800 meters per second and 1440 meters, and the 9 series longsword is at 1650 meters per second and 1403 meters range. In the size 2 category now, the Sobak is at 1500 meters per second projectile speed and 1665 meters range. The Strife Mass Driver is at 2200 meters per second and 3080 meters. The Omniski 6 at 1975 meters per second and 2666 meters. The Tarantula GT870 at 1700 meters per second and 2890 meters. The NN14 neutron cannon at 1650 meters per second and 2046 meters range. The M4A laser at 1985 meters per second and 2719 meters range. The Badger repeater at 1825 meters per second and 1862 meters, and the Sledge 2 mass driver cannon at 2198 meters per second and 3011 meters range. From these stats, it is obvious that the laser weapons in the size 1 and size 2 category have been adjusted in order to have a similar projectile speed, projectile velocity, some of these weapons at least with each other. So if you have a ship with size 1 and size 2 hardpoints and you are looking for an effective loadout to use, you can use a combination of M4A laser cannons and M3A laser cannons that have a projectile velocity of 1985 meters per second and 1958 meters per second, very close one to each other. Or you can even replace the M4A laser cannon with Omniski 6 that has a projectile velocity at 1975 meters per second. Another nice combination for laser weapons in the size 1 and size 2 categories is the Badger and Bulldog repeaters that have a very similar projectile velocity at 1825 meters per second and 1800 meters per second. Let's go now to the size 3 category. The Power Burst has a projectile velocity at 1600 meters per second and its range is only at 688 meters. The 11 series broadsword is at 1800 meters per second and 3114 meters. The M5A laser cannon at 2009 meters per second and 4259 meters. The Tarantula GT870 Mark III at 1800 meters per second and range at 3780 meters. The CF225 Panther repeater at 1850 meters per second and range at 2424 meters, and the Mandis GT220 at 1500 meters per second and 1425 meters range. With the size 3 weapons, we can create much stronger and more effective loadouts. Some nice options include a combination of Panther and Badger repeaters with 1850 meters per second projectile velocity for the Panther repeaters and 1825 meters per second projectile velocity for the Badger repeaters. And this is one of my favorite loadouts right now for the Super Hornet, 3 Panther repeaters and 2 Badger repeaters, and without any doubt one of the stronger combinations right now in the 2.6.1 update. If you are looking for a high DPS ballistic loadout, then you can combine Mandis and Sobak, which have the same projectile velocity at 1500 meters per second, or you can go for a mixed loadout with Tarantula Mark III at 1800 meters per second projectile velocity and Badger repeaters at 1825 meters per second. If your vessel has size 1 harpoons instead of size 2, then you can replace the Badger repeaters for Bulldog repeaters, which have a projectile velocity at 1800 meters per second, and it will work great with the Panther repeater or the Tarantula Mark III. In the last 2 categories now, size 4 weapons, the M6A laser cannon has a projectile velocity at 2039 meters per second and range at 5138 meters. The Apocalypse Arms Revenant has a projectile velocity at 1600 meters per second and range at 1568 meters. The combined ballistic cannon is at 1900 meters per second and 4275 meters. And the only size 5 weapon, the M7A laser cannon, is at 2075 meters per second and its range at 7263 meters. If you want to use size 4 weapons in your loadout, then you can combine the M6A laser cannon with M5A laser cannons that have a projectile velocity at 2039 meters per second and 2009 meters per second respectively, or you can go with the combined C778 that has a projectile velocity at 1900 meters per second and Panther repeaters that have the projectile velocity of 1850 meters per second. These are the new stats, the stats that have changed for the weapons in Star Citizen with the new update, the 2.6.1, and some combinations you can create based on the projectile velocity that the weapons have right now. Remember that you can always go with whatever weapon you like, with whatever combination you enjoy using the most, and still have fun and be effective in the game. Thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. I am SquidofLove, and I will see you around the verse. Bye bye.